Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're at. Welcome to our Agentic Automation and Orchestration overview. My name is Ian, and I will be your moderator today. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. All participants will be muted, but please ask questions using the Q&A feature on the bottom right-hand corner of your Zoom feature bar. We'll be responding to questions throughout the session, and we'll answer a few live at the end. And in case you want to revisit the webinar or share with a friend, we'll send the recording to you in an email after the presentation, so please keep an eye out for that. If you notice any technical problems as you're trying to watch, try exiting and rejoining. It's that old principle of unplug it, then plug it back in. That should fix anything that might be going on. So our hosts for today, Sean Hoyer, our CEO, and Ari Stowe, our COO. These are two of the masterminds behind our Agentic AI and Zero Ticket Vision, and they're going to provide an exciting overview of that now. So without further ado, guys, take it away.
I think in future webinars, we should have a poll of whose photo was better or more majestic.
I'm going to vote for you. Just
get out of here. All right.
Spam click.
Thank you all for joining. I want to lay a little bit of context here. So like Zero Ticket is a pretty bold vision, right? It like just the term itself, like I've been told can be, a bit scary to people and a bit shocking. Is like in today's world, everything kind of runs on the ticket, right? Every request that comes in has a ticket associated with it. Every change has a ticket associated with it, right? Anything an employee wants to get done or a machine is alerting on creates a ticket in today's world. And for the past 10 years, maybe 20 years, the focus has been on how do we get tickets completed faster, right? It's how do we route them? How do we create custom workflows? How do we gather information in the L1 so that the L2 can handle it more efficiently and effectively, right? It hasn't been about eliminating the need for tickets. It's all been focused on handling the tickets more efficiently. And we believe those days are numbered, right? We believe that with today's technology, the future isn't focused on better routing of tickets, isn't better handling of tickets. It's to make it so that you never need the ticket in the first place. You go next one. And so when we look at today's world, right, and I know this is a very simplified model, but simplified models, I think, help us think about kind of the big picture and the strategy and help us understand it quickly. And so when we look at this problem, the biggest culprit for eating capacity of IT, and also one of the biggest challenges faced, is this reactive work. And reactive work comes from two general places. One is machines. And in today's world, machines have an incredible amount of monitoring tied to them so that you can understand everything that's happening with them, right? And the goal behind this is to be more proactive about handling issues, right? Because in the past, before we had all these great monitoring solutions, we didn't know something went wrong until a customer, an employee, or a user of that system notified us. And so monitoring was a great leap forward for us when it was created. But now in today's world, we're monitoring everything, right? And if you think about a single application, we're monitoring from the hardware layer to the virtualization layer, to the application layer, to the load balancer, right? Everything, that entire stack has monitoring associated with it. And if you get an issue at one of those foundational layers, all the rest of them go down as well. And so this creates things like event storms where you have these cascading failures and everything's alerting and alarming at the same time, right? And all of this just creates noise, and all that noise creates tickets, and those tickets have to be handled by humans. On the other side is human requests. Human requests actually represent about 70% of your total reactive ticket volume. And maybe that doesn't surprise you. It surprised me when I first looked at it because machines are really noisy. But when you think of the human requests, right, these things span from general questions about like how much PTO do I have, what's the latest on the request that I made, all the way to things like troubleshooting issues, right? So my VPN isn't working. I'm locked out of this machine. This service that I use is running slowly. And then the last one is like requests, is like, I need to provision something new. Can I have a new piece of software? Can I have a new laptop? Can you provision me a second monitor? All of those things fall into that human request category. And in today's world, like the last evolution of serving those employees and customers better was a help desk portal. And the goal behind that was self-service. But the problem with it is it's actually creating much more work for employees than it is actually helping them, right? And so these portals, you go to them, you do a search, and it actually pulls up knowledge articles. And then they have to sift through the knowledge articles to see if any of them actually solve their problem. In many cases, they don't. And so they create a ticket anyway. And so they are just wasting time and getting frustrated going into these portals. Many of these people are non-technical, and the knowledge article is written in a technical format, making it even more difficult for them to find the answer that they're looking for. And again, all of these things, they just filter into creating tickets. And those tickets get routed to your L1 through L3s and handled by humans. Now, like there's obvious issue with that, right? Is, the more that we route to technicians, the more technicians we need. But the other side of that is a real problem too that we're not really talking about, which is the drain on productivity of our employee base, right? If they're waiting for a password to be reset for a critical application to do their job, if their VPN isn't working and they're working remotely, they're locked out. They can't do anything, right? So the bigger concern here should be the productivity of your company, of your employees, is you need to switch your focus into that mode. So keep going. And so, I talked about a lot of these, but like this hidden opportunity cost is really impactful in this world, right? You've got the ITSM licensing cost, which, if you're a user of ServiceNow or one of these big players, that cost for that ITSM solution is probably in the top 5 of your non-personnel expenses, right? It is probably one of the biggest line items you have on your IT cost center, right? And so for us, not even just focusing on employee experience and productivity, but pure like cost consolidation and cost control. The solution we're going to talk to you about today is going to encapsulate your ITSM and allow you to shrink that significantly, very rapidly, but over time, potentially even eliminate the need for that ticketing system entirely. You go to the next one. So, this is a little bit of like grounding and the analysts and what they're saying. If you look out into like LinkedIn or you start reading articles, everybody is talking about the evolution of AI and the impact that it's going to have. And we believe one of the first places where AI and automation together are going to have this extreme impact is in this IT help desk space, is in this space where you're reacting to issues in your infrastructure, your network, you're reacting to issues to employees. Most of those things, they follow known patterns, right? If you can write a knowledge article on how to handle it step by step, and automation plus AI can do it on your behalf so that you never have to do it ever again, right? And the types of things that we're talking about really lean in to that capability. And so, Gartner is kind of known for having these like aspirational viewpoints on things. I think we're actually going to go much faster than this. And we're leaning our company into moving very fast. Like we already have customers that have achieved an 80% plus reduction in L1, L2 ticket volume, managing network and infrastructure operations. We already have customers that have achieved a 50% ticket deflection rate by using our our LLM-enabled chat solution just to deflect employee requests before they ever become tickets, right? So we already have data points that are telling us that we're already on this path, that this journey is real. It's not some fantasy that a futurist is talking about in some great AI talk track. This is something that's happening today. And so with that, we'll take a quick poll here. I'm very interested in where you're at in this journey. I've talked to a lot of C-level executives in the last couple of months. And there's kind of a broad spectrum of, are you really investing very heavily in AI today? Are you kind of exploring it and, experimenting with it in kind of a skunkworks fashion? Or, are you at this stage where you're still evaluating it, making sure you make the right decision? So how long do we usually give for the poll, Ian?
long enough that it makes me want to vote, Sean. Every time it comes up, I'm like,
I know,
want to vote.
I have it in front of my screen and I'm like, I'm not supposed to vote. Don't vote, Sean. Don't do it.
It is tempting. I saw the note saying that panelists cannot vote, and I was like, oh. But we'll give folks about a couple more seconds here, and then we'll see those results come in.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, when you think about this, I mean, I'll wait for the results to give my opinion on it, but with how fast things, oh, there we go. Everybody voted. So it looks like the vast majority of people fall into that middle category of exploring AI in specific use cases and limited deployments. My general advice to folks that are just investing in AI is to focus on things proprietary about your business. Like AI is moving so incredibly fast, and there's vendors out there like Resolve that are focused on these repeatable patterns that cross businesses, right? And so the things that are unique to your business are kind of a special like snowflake, right? And so investing in those is actually going to pay dividends over time, whereas investing in something like handling password resets or handling infrastructure provisioning is probably not, right? There's going to be a COTS solution that's going to solve that for you, probably for dramatically lower cost and lower overhead. All right, so let's keep going.
So how does this come together? This is where Sean gets to like, WWE tag me in. And so we spent a lot of time talking about, how do we solve these problems for the front door, for the side door, for the machine side door, and really solving, bringing our platform and our AI to solve the problems of our customers and of their customers. And so our agentic automation platform really takes a couple of different approaches. For the machines and alerts and alarms, we see integrations with AI ops and taking those AI ops platforms to the next level. And really not just correlating and consolidating alarms, but taking action on those alarms, right? Deciding if there are false positives, running automations and orchestrations that take care of those incidents, alarms, self-heal, as great ways to deflect message or tickets and problems that are coming in from the machines. From the front of the front door, our customers are really like struggling to get in and create as Sean mentioned, like creating tickets the old-fashioned way, right? And the big focus on that has always been like, you've got to go to my self-service portal or call my service desk, and you've got to know what your problem is, and you're learning IT more than IT is learning you. With our approach to an AI IT assistant, we're giving customers the ability to use their collaboration tool of choice, Teams or Slack, to have a conversation with an AI assistant that also knows about automation workflows that exist in Resolve, that know about knowledge articles that you've got stored in SharePoint or ServiceNow or Jira, right, that you've built up over time, and taking all of that information and being able to correctly route that information to the correct thing that solves the customer's problem, right? Instead of making them go, as Sean mentioned, like go to a self-service portal and search a knowledge article, get back 17 pages of Google results that show all the potential knowledge articles that had the word password in it or something along those lines. And so those are kind of our AI and agentic approach to the deflection and resolution of the front of house things. We're also working on some AI functionality for back of house functionality, right? So enabling your technicians to be able to better solve problems, understand problems, get recommendations on what to do next, and then also help them build those automations. Because at the end of the day, we know the more things that we can help them automate, the more workflows that we can get in place for these common requests or common issues that are coming in from AI ops, the faster that we can get to a resolution, and the more time you can get back to preempting other problems or building out the workflows that support your other incoming requests or issues from systems. And the joy in taking that approach, and we'll get to this, I'm teasing out a little bit ahead, but the joy of that approach for us is that because we're already such a well-founded orchestration and automation platform, the ability to add additional knowledge, additional agentic knowledge in the system is really just as easy as defining that agent. So to Sean's point, like if you develop an agent on your own AI, which many of our customers have that know their core business, plugging that into the Rita interface or plugging that into a Resolve workflow is easy, right? It's as easy as adding the agent to a step in the workflow. And because our system is leveraging, which I'll show you guys in a little bit, is leveraging that technology to kind of be the agent of agents. That expands the knowledge of your agentic workflow. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump to the next slide, and we'll kind of talk about each of these individual steps separately.
So what
Sean.
Ari just mentioned is incredibly powerful, right? In automation, we talk a lot about future proofing, but like in this world of AI where it's moving so incredibly fast, like the big players are competing like in a cutthroat environment to become the best in every little niche, right? And so as these things continue to evolve, having a platform like ours where you can plug in the new best thing to solve a given problem is incredible, right? Is you don't have to refactor. You're literally changing one action task, one node in a workflow to drive that traffic to another LLM. It's as simple as that, right? It can be done in 30 minutes.
Well, we're gonna do it on this demo, so it's gonna be done even faster than that.
Well, Ari's a professional, so I would say.
So let's jump into kind of each of these steps so we can talk about it. So the first thing we talked about is Rita, right? And Rita is Resolve's IT agent, and the goal of Rita again is to deflect and reduce that ticket volume. Sean mentioned that the 70% of your reactive work, your stop, drop, and roll work is coming from reactive work from your customers. And we've seen customers use Rita with our agentic workflows and knowledge article consumption to reduce tickets by up to 50% in the first 6 months. And that's just in implementing our core base workflows and the knowledge they've already consumed as a business over the years, just giving it that vector DB and ability to be part of a RAG system where that's quickly pulled up for a customer. The great part about that is reducing that ticket volume does a couple of things for you. As Sean mentioned, it allows you to cut ITSM spend, so you don't need to have as many tier 1 and tier 0 agents working in the tool because you've got workflows that are handling a lot of those problems. You've also got the added benefit of it allowing you to get back to those big lifts, that project work, those new workflows that you want to create to help deflect additional work coming in. And so you're getting that bump in IT efficiency, but it also has an additional added benefit of making the IT service desk a place where your customers go to get answers, and that they get those answers and they get those resolutions faster, right? So reducing MTTR, reducing the amount of time a person has to have an open ticket before they're getting an answer or a solution to the problem, and I think that can't go understated as an incredible value of leveraging technology like agentic AI for your customers. So that kind of handles the front door customer request that we talked about. If you go to the next slide, one of the things that we have seen that Sean mentioned is like we are that COTS system that helps you solve some of those core foundational problems. One of the best successes we've seen with our customers is people who are starting this automation journey, this ticket deflection, zero ticket journey, is start with the stuff that happens to everybody and has a big impact on everyone, right? Password resets, access requests, installing new software, troubleshooting why I can't connect to the systems that I'm supposed to be able to connect to. Those are all problems that we see across a lot of customers. And the good thing is, obviously, we've built workflows in our platform and hooked them up to our chat agent to allow you to accelerate solving those problems for your customers, because this is a great way to start. The other piece to this is once you get your customers started and solving these problems and chatting with your knowledge articles, it'll start to become very apparent and build a backlog of what the things you need to do next and where you can kind of take your journey in those next steps and build towards a true zero ticket approach. So if you go ahead and jump next, that kind of covers our front door of things. as I also mentioned, there's also this concept of how can I speed up the creation of workflows, the execution of workflows, the solution of problems by my IT team. And that's where Jarvis comes in. So Jarvis is your AI architect and companion. So Jarvis helps you transform how you're creating workflows, how you're creating new integrations, and then also how you can execute the workflows that you already have. And so, this is a great way to not have to start from scratch. If there isn't a workflow, if there isn't an activity that we have that exists, creating it with the help of an AI copilot as part of our platform that has knowledge of the Resolve platform and how to build those integrations literally takes building a new integration from, hours to days to minutes. And again, we'll show that in a second. So jumping past Jarvis, this is the back end AI that we're really looking to introduce. This is where the power comes together, and this is where Sean mentioned like this concept of building and orchestrating AI agents. There's two really big problems here that are appearing in the AI space. First and foremost, every AI agent that you use, every tool that has AI agents, for the most part, they're charging you for interactions, for tokens, for usage. So making sure that you get to the right agent and chat with it about the information that's the most important is a huge piece of this process, right? I mean, I saw a talk a couple of weeks ago where a customer told us they were running all of their AI tools. When any problem came up, they were asking all of them, and then they were using the best answer that came back. And that worked for them for the first couple of weeks. And then they realized how much they were spending asking all of the AI agents they had, all of the questions they had. And then they were like, we need to find a new way. And so this is kind of where that orchestrating AI agent or agent of agents comes in. The other piece that's incredibly cool about using a workflow like this to power your AI agents is that it absolutely future proofs you. If you decide that you want to build your own, RAG vector database that allows you to chat with your network configuration, do it. And then you can add that and swap out the existing agent you have. You decide you're going to switch from Claude to OpenAI for your corporate LLM, no problem. It's changing out an activity and leaving it in the agented workflow. So this is a really great way to build out the leveraging of all of the agents that you have in your environment, and future proofing your ability of getting stuck into one vendor or like trying to get the best out of all of the best out of a single AI platform. So go ahead and I think that gives me time for a poll to pull up my system as well. So let me pull that up while you're doing the poll here.
And just to let the audience know, you got about 60 seconds to submit a guess. Or not a guess, sorry.
A quiz.
I'm going into my bar trivia hosting mode. That was my bad. An answer. Thank you.
I love this question though. What use cases do you see the most potential in your organization? Is it service desk automation, incident resolution, the customer experience and support, or security and compliance? I like that you also chose to leave off all of the above. That's such a
multiple choice.
Yeah. That's fair. I guess you just make all of the above. I have to click all four. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it looks like a lot of people selected multiple options. Definitely service desk automation and incident resolution seem like obvious ones for sure. But yeah, I mean, it looks like at least 30% on all of them, which is definitely shows the power and flexibility that AI is bringing to these departments for sure. Well, with that said, let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll jump in and show you the platform. So hopefully you guys see my screen now.
Good.
All right. So we're going to start here in Slack just to kind of show you what the customer experience with Rita is, and how, you can have a conversation again with like simple knowledge articles, all the way down to actually running workflows. So I'm going to start here wasting tokens with everyone and just saying hello to Rita so that she can get us started. And we'll go ahead and ask her something simple like, I need to add email to my iPhone. So the cool part about this is that we have a training, and I'll get you into the workflow in a minute, but just want to show you what that looks like. We have a training that goes out and looks at all of our knowledge articles in ServiceNow and in SharePoint and pulls back those articles and trains on them and is able to take my ask of, simple things like, add email to my iPhone or when is the next holiday, and pull the knowledge articles that are in our knowledge system back around those and just provide them as simple responses. This is a great way to again, like I said, provide NLP to your existing knowledge articles. And this training happens almost immediately when you add the article into the system, and then again gives you the ability to directly chat with these. But the coolest part about this is when you start to do some more differentiated stuff, some things that tie to workflows. So as a great example, I'm going to go ahead and just ask to add myself to a distribution list, but I'm going to try and trick Rita here a little bit and say, hey, can you please add me to the sales distribution? And luckily, she is smart enough to know that I need to give her the email address. Just telling her to add me to the sales distribution list isn't going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and say, yep, sorry, that is sales@resolve.io. So what's going to happen is she's actually going to go out and trigger a workflow that looks at all of the workflows that we have that are configured in our system, registers that I've asked to be added to that distribution list, verifies I'm not a part of that distribution list, and adds me. And now you'll see here, I've got the I'll be added to the mailbox and start getting updates shortly messages response. So this in itself has deflected a ticket that I might have opened with the service desk. But what about like more technical examples? Like Sean mentioned VPN status, right? So this is one of my favorites because this is such a differentiated process, right? There's core gateways, there's Cisco, routers and firewalls that can be checked all the way down to the user's individual configuration. So in this example, I'm just going to say I can't connect to the VPN. And what Rita is going to do is actually kick off a workflow in Resolve that's going to get started with testing my VPN access. So you'll see here, she's already started this process. And if I go back into my environment, you'll see that there's actually this workflow running, troubleshooting my VPN connection. And so you'll see this goes through checking the VPN status on the Cisco device, checking just if there's network connectivity, confirming that the gateways are available. And eventually she's going to get all the way down to looking at if I have the VPN client installed on my machine. In this case, that's going to be my problem. And she's going to go ahead and offer to push that to my machine. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes. And she's going to push that down to my machine using SECM. Now, why, that's great that I've shown that, but let's go into the system and actually show what's happening, right? So I'm going to open up my workflow designer. And first I'm going to show you, here's my Rita agent. The first thing that's coming in when I kick off a conversation is she's looking to see if there are workflows that exist for Rita. And because I've created this workflow of VPN troubleshooting and I've tagged it as a Rita workflow, this workflow is going to kick off. So I'm going to actually open up my Rita workflow here. Whoop, I've got it open twice. I'm going to open up my Rita workflow here and see that the first thing that comes in is just like we talked about, it gets who I am. It goes ahead and creates a Jira ticket for us and then goes through and sends the Cisco command and then terminates that session. And if there's no problem, it sends the next step in the message and lets me know what's happening. If at any time it fails, it's going to create a ticket and send all of the information from this workflow to my my IT team as part of that Jira ticket and Jira update. So again, each individual step that you saw Rita chatting with me on is just a step in a workflow. Whoop. I got logged out. So I'm going to come back here and tell Rita that fixed my issue. Thanks so much. All right. Well, let's log back in real quick. All right. So I showed you, kind of that general workflow of the Rita agent kicking off our VPN request. One of the other things that I think that's really cool that actually is technically a Jarvis capability, but because we're an agent of agents, I've added that Jarvis capability directly to our workflow. I'm going to actually ask Rita about an open ticket that I have. So here I was talking to Derek this morning. He opened up a ticket, and I'm going to go ahead and ask Rita what's going on with this ticket. And so I'm going to just come over here and say, let me copy this ticket number and then come back to Rita and say, what is going on with ticket number? Whoop. There we go. All right. So Rita's going to take this command, actually hand this off to Jarvis as an agent of agents, and go and get the ticket detail for me. The really exciting part about this isn't that she's getting the ticket detail. It's that she's feeding this information into our LLM and is going to come back and recommend next steps that I can take on this action. So if I come into ServiceNow and take a look at this ticket, you'll see I've got this incident, that same incident pulled up with a RabbitMQ error that Derek was experiencing on our message queue. What she's going to do is take that workflow, feed it into our GPT-based LLM, and come back with the likely cause and recommended next steps. And on top of that, while I was chatting and too slow clicking from window to window, she added that as a work note into our actual activity. So you can come back into ServiceNow and see that it recommended what the likely cause of this issue was based on the error and what my next steps are to solve this. The great part about this is a recommendation for a ticket I don't have a workflow for. If I had a workflow for it, Jarvis could have just kicked off the workflow and solved this problem in one fell swoop. And again, that's as simple as I've kicked off this Snow agent. I've added the agent passing over the information. And if I come look at my workflow, here's my Snow agent. It's literally just a couple of steps where it's sending my Slack message, where it's getting the ticket details. It's going and getting the ticket based on the ticket number that it pulled out. And then this is where it's actually going and asking all of the historical ticket information, all of the things we know about our next step, passing it as a prompt and getting back our response. So I'm going to cheat just so you guys know that this is a real live demo, and I'm going to actually run this workflow right here. So we'll see. If I kick this off via chat, it's the same thing as if I kick this off via, a trigger from the system, from an alert or an alarm that comes in. And the same thing, it's going through the steps, right? At each step, it's going and getting the ticket information. Here's my raw information about the ticket. Here's the error that came in from ServiceNow. And then it's actually going to go through, get our response about what the likely cause is, take that information and feed it back to my Slack message and also back to my ticket. So if I go back to my ticket now, you'll see a second message happen because all of that was actually happening. It wasn't just a live demo magic happening. So I think this is kind of where we see Jarvis really, adding an additional level of value. The last thing I wanted to show, and this is kind of, my favorite functionality, is all of these functions and features are integration steps. They're all points, right? So Sean mentioned, like, how do we future-proof ourselves? How do we make sure that if today I'm pushing my config to myself with SCCM, but tomorrow I want to push it with Intune because my company has switched from SCCM to Intune. Well, now I do only have to go and update this step, but I still have to go and integrate with Intune. Well, that's the other joy of Jarvis, right? Is that Jarvis is leveraging our LLM to be able to build custom activities and integrations for you. So here, I'm going to just say, create an activity called RE Intune software install. This should push a software package from Intune. Geez, man, if I could type and spell today, it would be great. From Intune to
people watching.
Yeah, to a customer's computer. I need to provide the Intune API, or we'll just say the Intune URL, API key, user to install, and software package name. So because I'm using common software like Intune, it's going to go out on the internet and build this custom activity for me based on the information it already knows about Intune. If I'm using a more bespoke system or something that isn't commonly known, it will actually go out and look and come back and ask you, and you can provide additional documentation. Or there's actually another side to this where if you have the Swagger documentation, you can just intelligently create this activity. So again, so right now what I'm doing is letting this go out and create. It's built all of this information, and now it's putting together a custom activity for me that lets me take care of this exact issue. So here you see RE Intune activity. I've got my 4 fields that I talked about, my Intune URL, my API key, my user, and my software package name. And in the background, all the code that it needs to go do this has been pulled. It's got my install software URL. It's automatically appending it with my my custom URL that I'm providing as a variable. And now that this is done, guys, literally all I have to do is click enable, click save. And I'm going to go back to my workflow in my workflow designer, back into my VPN, and say goodbye SCCM, and then I'm going to come back here and type Intune. I intentionally didn't load any other Intune activities into this environment, and now you can see all I've got to do is add my user, which is already part of my workflow. Oh, if this will go away. And then my software package name, which we are already pulling out as variables. And then I can just add my URL and my API key, and this workflow is ready to run again. So, and like, again, future proofing, tool swap out, new workflow, or same workflow, new integration in, by an executive in minutes. If it's easy enough that I can do it, you can imagine, teams around the world are going to be able to build it. So yeah, I mean, I think tying all of these kind of features and functions together are really a key way that we're seeing, bringing value to our customers. And, our AI is really focused on, again, helping you deflect and solve the customer's problems where it exists. And then also using AI to make it easier for your team to build and run existing workflows against systems they're already integrated with. And all of this can be done with the simple, ease and build of just the activities that exist, or our hundreds and hundreds of activities that exist in our content exchange. So I tried to cover that quickly. Hopefully,
we got 2 questions. Ari, I'll read them to you, buddy. I'll let you answer. If you don't raise a ticket for adding someone to a distribution list, how do you deal with auditing, approvals, and compliance?
Yeah, great question, Robert. So as far as we're concerned, the opening a ticket is part of that. You saw that in my workflow at every step of the way. I did open a Jira ticket, or I did open a ServiceNow ticket. So we do believe that for now, the ticket is the audit log of work. But the more important thing is you don't actually have to get somebody in there working it. It's not licensed users that are logging in and taking those tickets. You're not waiting for a human to pick it up off a queue. It's getting solved when the customer needs it. So yeah, absolutely. If you're using your ITSM solution as the audit log for where work is done, we can absolutely continue to integrate to that and do that. We do have some customers that are looking at other places to store that information, because again, if that's all your ITSM ticket is a log of all the work that was done, it's a very expensive log. Yeah. So
find a cheap solution.
Yeah, it's definitely worth looking at other solutions.
Yeah, the other key piece that the approvals process is something that is if you build it into your policy for updated distribution list, it's going to ingest that into Rita, and it's going to know that you need to seek certain approvals. And so that'll actually be a part of the workflow as well that actually does the distribution list updating, right? And so if there's certain distribution lists that are locked down, it will go and check for that, and then it'll actually send an email or a text message, or it'll
Or a
use
Slack
Rita and
message.
Slack, or yeah,
Yep.
or it'll do all of them depending on what your actual process looks like, and it can do all of that without an agent having to actually go and do that reach out. The system itself will actually
Well, without a human agent
yeah, without
having
a
to do
human
that.
agent.
Yeah,
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 that's
yeah.
valuable.
No. Good call out. Yeah, and I mean, even Robert, one of the good examples we had with a customer that we did recently was a hardware purchase where if it was over a certain price threshold, it needed approvals. So all of that can be built in, just like it's built into your current, your current process.
All right, great. And then next question, can Rita invoke a custom workflow instead of just 5 pre-built ones?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's a great question. Absolutely. Our platform is designed to build many workflows outside of the 5 pre-built workflows. Our recommendation is just to start with the 5 because it starts deflecting tickets immediately, while you start to look at what are the other custom things that you want to invoke or add to Rita's conversations. So yeah, absolutely. It's more about the approach of, I love the like don't boil the ocean conversation. That's what we've seen with a lot of customers is they love the value and power of this. And so the first thing they try and do is the hardest, most complicated thing. And that's certainly great. I mean, you can take that approach, but it means that you're delaying the value you're going to get, delaying the deflection, delaying the auto ticket resolutions that you're getting out of this. And so if you start with some of the easier stuff, and then while you're deflecting those, start to look at the more differentiated, more custom things, then it becomes a lot easier for you to get value while you're also building additional highly differentiated value.
Yeah, and if you're an existing customer, you can wire up workflows you've already created into a Rita workflow essentially, where if it understands what the workflow does, then it can intelligently determine when to invoke it. And so yeah, if you're an existing actions customer and you have existing workflows that you'd like to tie into that, it's super easy to be able to do that as well. Okay, next, any new agentic AI framework learnings for existing Resolve developers?
Yeah, so this is a great question. So actually, we're working on that now. The training team is actually working on some smaller tidbits and videos of trainings to show you how to build the agent of agents or extend the agent of agents or do things like interact with LangChains or Llama or, your own internal LLMs. And so right now we're working on that, but absolutely, if you're an existing Resolve customer, you will see trainings coming to the training team and to our YouTube channel soon about a lot of these AI agents that we're building, along with seeing AI agents make their way onto the content exchange. There are several out there now, but even more will continue to be built by our content team because you can see how fast they can build content now, right? It's as easy as asking Jarvis to help them do it. So
yeah, there are thousands of activities out into the content exchange, and we expect that to somewhat explode. Okay. Next question. Which version is this Rita available in Actions Express? I think
so
yeah.
Yeah, so this is a good question. So your backend action system, a lot of this is available in all of the versions you've got currently. I definitely work with your CS person to have a conversation about that. But Rita as an LLM and AI kind of sits alongside the platform and interacts via webhook and API with the system. So likely the answer is the version you're on, but I would say reach out to your CSM and work with them directly on that question.
Does Rita show the probability that an answer is correct?
So it does. It does obviously do some temperature and probability on the back end. We don't expose that to the customer, but you can see that sort of in the answers that you get responses from. So I guess the answer would be yes, but usually that's not something our customers want to expose to their end users.
So the other powerful part of this that we already touched on really briefly is that Rita itself keeps track of every single question that gets asked of it and whether or not we actually solve the problem. And so like, and Ari mentioned in how he described it is if there's a question that came up and we didn't answer it completely or we didn't solve the problem completely and a ticket had to be created, that is essentially creating a backlog for either creating a knowledge article to fill that gap or creating a workflow to fill that gap. And so this system basically creates this nice flywheel effect where it's you've got a backlog and you know, once you expose this to your employees, they're going to be asking all kinds of questions. Once they understand what it's capable of, they're going to start trying to push the limits of it. And that's going to help you understand, like, these are the main trends that we're seeing in our employee base of things that can help them do their job more effectively. And so now IT becomes a true strategic partner of the business without having to have these constant brainstorming sessions and, you know, let's do these polls and anything like that. It's organic. It's just happening as part of how this system actually runs.
Yep. So I'm gonna
yes.
kind of gloss over the next couple of questions because they're kind of all about the same thing about like how do I look if I'm an existing customer. So the answer I gave before I think is kind of the same thing, guys. Is if you're an existing customer, I'd say reach out to your CS person. They'll be able to help you get some answers to that question around like, you know, what does Rita look like from a cost for what you have, or you know, is it available in the version that you have? And same thing with Jarvis. You know, I think for the most part the answers are going to be some version of yes. It's just you know, depending on what version you're running on-prem. If you're significantly older, we may want to get you doing an upgrade for some of the API functionalities or whatever, but definitely work with your CS person.
All right, I'll continue. So Robert came back. While the agentic concept is great, when these are tested in neutral environments, they often fail to live up to expectations. Absolutely, GPT could let you down. Showing the well-known LLM issues. What is your experience with objective benchmarks for correctness of outcome?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So it's kind of twofold, right? First and foremost, your environment, like you're comparing general public LLMs, right? So like GPT that has no context of how to solve a particular problem. We partner the knowledge of what you've already resolved and done in your existing system. So like all of your existing ServiceNow tickets that have been solved, or all your Jira tickets that have been solved, all the historical resolutions and information there, plus what we know about you know, the error messages and codes that come in, and then leverage an LLM to do that kind of logic. So as far as our objective benchmarks are concerned, you know, the recommendation on like next steps is pretty regularly spot on. Now it doesn't mean that that step is the last step, right? Sometimes we'll run in, like in the example, you know, maybe I went and cleared the lock file and it still didn't restart the service. And then maybe my next recommendation was to go stop the service and start it again. So there might be a couple of like, you know, additional steps after it learns and you give it more context. But our objective benchmarks around this have been pretty good because it's learned based on your historical ticket data and the existing information that you know, the error message or whatever that was added to the ticket. As far as the other stuff like the deflection, the knowledge articles and stuff, I mean, that has objectively always been good. That's been good for a long time, like NLP and getting knowledge articles from a RAG system with, you know, with common language, like that correctness is like 99.9%. I mean, the only time we've seen any customers run into issues with that are when they have a bunch of knowledge articles that are all around the same topics with the same language, and then it's really about how you clean that up. It's more about the knowledge we're putting in to say, let's not write 30 knowledge articles to solve the same one problem. Let's clean that up and then let let that RAG system do a better job of responding to those answers. So it's a good question. Happy to dig in. We could talk for hours on this.
Yeah, if you reach out to us, Robert,
yeah,
happy to have a deeper conversation, because the combination of our AI solution with our orchestration engine actually enables us to do things in a more deterministic fashion than a lot of the things that are just pure AI. So we should talk, because I'd love to understand a little bit more about the specific scenarios you might be concerned about, because we've like security and compliance things, putting guardrails on AI, all of these things are things that we are considering, and it's the reason we're combining these solutions together. Okay, next one.
Yeah,
Is
we probably
learning
got
from
time for one or two more. So,
are we already out of
um,
time? I mean, I got all day already. So
I mean, I
the
could talk about this topic all day for sure.
is
Go ahead.
is
Sorry.
learning from KB articles the only thing, or can we provide patterns, logs, live logs can be provided as well?
Yeah, so no, it's not just knowledge articles. You can certainly provide logs, as I mentioned. You can provide ticket history and ticket data. I think the other side to this is you can also provide your own LLM. So I think there's kind of a like a piece that you mentioned in there about like, can we use our own LLM or agent to analyze? Absolutely. That's the whole concept of agent of agents. Is if you've trained custom, Olama on your network environment. I mean, we went to a DTW, a conference a couple weeks ago, and we had a customer who had fed all of the configs, the system information for all of the network infrastructure they had in their entire environment to a single LLM, and then they were able to add that into a workflow and then chat with that LLM about how do I configure this Cisco device, and it'll go and look at what version of the firmware it's running and then come back and provide that answer as part of a workflow. So the answer is yes, you can highly customize this to use your own logs or your own LLM if you want.
Yeah, like we're training it in one scenario to help like L2 and L3 network technicians to better and faster troubleshoot and remediate issues in their network, because they've created such detailed steps and they have such detailed knowledge of their network and configurations. All right, so maybe we'll take one more. I think can Rita interpret images and capture metadata? So there is a capability in Rita, actually, you can, and this may not be what you're talking about, so there's multiple answers here, but there is an app for your phone where you can actually snap shots. Like, so if you're a grocery retailer, you can snap shots of like a cabinet that isn't working correctly, and it'll actually capture all of that data and help you start to troubleshoot it as well. And so the other side of that is you can drop in images of workflows, and it'll interpret those workflows and start to translate those into things that Rita can leverage, and also our orchestration and Jarvis can leverage to create an actual specification, like Ari showed you. So there's multiple answers.
As far as pulling the
yes.
metadata out, that's an interesting use case. I mean, I think the answer to that is yes. I don't know that we have anyone pulling out the metadata about like what factory location is this in, but you can feed the image in, and so as long as that metadata information is passed as part of it, it should be accessible. So great question, Kevin, and definitely look forward to hearing from you more, because I think that's a cool use case for sure. So.
Okay, well, it sounds like that brings us to the conclusion. Thank you, Sean and Ari, for walking us through this incredible tech, very exciting stuff. And thank you even more to our audience for taking the time to join us. If you're interested in learning more, please refer to information here. We would love to connect with you, do a demo, answer any other questions that you might have. We have way more agentic AI and other zero ticket events planned for down the road, and we look forward to having you with us again. So see you next time. Please.